Good morning, friends. Welcome to another Field Trip Friday. My name's Steve.
And I'm Peregrine. Today we are going to be visiting NCSU's Howling Cow Dairy Farm, Education Center, and Creamery. Welcome to all of you. I'm really excited to show you some of the cool stuff that we saw. I want to welcome with us our Alex Ives here, who is our Dairy Education Coordinator. Thanks so much for being here with us. And thanks to this week's DPS classroom for hosting us. Big shout out to Hillendale Elementary. Mrs. Derby is here with our rising first graders. Thank you so much for hosting us.
There's a photo of your school. I'm gonna pull that down just a little bit, so hopefully you can see that okay. Yeah, thanks again, Hillendale, for being with us. It's awesome to have you here.
We're super excited. Thanks for having us.
Alrighty, so I'd like to remind everybody who's with us that you are welcome to chat questions, or if you have somebody around who can help you type. I know many of you might be very young, but I've been so amazed and surprised at how good young folks are being at typing lately. So feel free to type questions in the chat. We'll answer them there, but then we'll also have a chance to share out your questions in our live Q&A after the video. So as you're watching, feel free to be curious and interested and just open your mind to whatever you're interested in and ask us what's going on. And then we'll share those questions at the end and have a chance to maybe discuss if there's answers, or at least talk about what answers might be. So I'm going to go ahead and get sharing our video. This was our trip to Howling Cow, and it was amazing. I will just say, like, I'm incredibly excited to show you. So let's get this going. All righty. Hi everyone, welcome to another Field Trip Friday. My name's Steve.
And I'm Peregrine. Steve, where are we right now?
Well, right now we're outside of the Randley Dairy Heritage Museum, which is part of North Carolina State University. And we're standing in this awesome pasture. And Peregrine, tell us a little bit about what we're gonna see today.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna be touring a lot of different parts of the area. We're gonna be taking a look at the Heritage Museum. We're gonna take a look at some of the dairy processing facilities, and we're going to see the Howling Cow Ice Cream Creamery.
Awesome, we're gonna take the trip from cow to cone.
Let's do it. All right, where are we right now, my friend?
We are at the Howling Cow Dairy Education Center and Creamery on Lake Wheeler Road in Raleigh. And this is attached to the NC State Dairy Farm that houses also the Randley Dairy Heritage Museum.
That's awesome. And who are you and what do you do here?
My name is Alex Ives, and I'm the Dairy Education Coordinator here at the Creamery and Museum. So I interact with the public. I do tours, and we also have educational programs and kids camps that we do here during the summer. And we're getting ready to start our first kids camp.
Cool.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Can we take a look around?
Absolutely. Let's go for a walk.
Let's do it.
Check it out.
All right.
So we're here to learn a little bit about the first step, but also the last step of the dairy process. Alex, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. We have got here several different feeds that we feed our dairy cows here at NC State. Now the thing to keep in mind is all dairy farms feed their cows a little bit differently. Some dairy farms will have their cows eat lots of grass on pasture. Other dairy farms, like ourselves, we will actually grow crops and harvest crops and mix those crops up and feed them. So here are just a few of the ingredients that we feed. We have hay and straw. These are just really good fiber fillers for the cow. Our grain mix, now our grain mix is specially formulated, and we actually have a nutritionist come to the dairy farm, and she takes samples of all these different feeds and breaks down an analysis to see what exactly our cows need. And we can make up any nutrient deficiencies, we can actually make up by mixing this grain. So we're going to put vitamins, minerals, we're going to have some added cornmeal and soybean meal added into our grain mix. Each of our cows' feeds, from our young calves all the way to our mature milking cows, get their own separate kind of grain that's specially formulated for what they need. So these feeds down here are really interesting because they are waste products from other industries. This is called citrus pulp. So this is what's left over after they make juice in the citrus industry. Wow. So they dry out all of the pulp that comes out of that juice making process, and we can feed it to our cows, and it's a great source of sugar. This is cottonseed, so cottonseed's left over from the textile industry. So another waste product that, rather than going into a landfill, can actually be fed to an animal who's going to utilize it for nutrition. Now this has lots of great fat and energy for those cows. So just like we need fat, cows need fat as well, and they can get it through these. And you and I can't eat these things, so we can feed it to cows. Cool. This last one is called soy hulls. This is what's left over after they are making the soybean process. Oh, cool. So this is, all three of these are recycled items. And there can be many other recycled items. Fruits and vegetables from the grocery store that you and I can't eat, that the grocery store has to throw away, we can actually feed some of them to dairy cows. Now we feed very small amounts of those, but they don't go to waste. And that's the biggest thing that really plays a big role in sustainability and how dairy cows and all cows can fit into making our ecosystem better.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us, Alex. Like, it just seems so cool the way that cows just fit into that cycle, that system of all these different nutrients moving through our ecosystems. Thank you for sharing a bit of that. That's great. Alex, this is like a really interesting and amazingly cool looking space. Where are we? What do you do here? Or what do the cows do here?
We're in the milking parlor. So this is physically where the person who's going to milk the cows in the morning and in the evening is going to stand. So we milk our cows twice a day. We milk our cows at 6 in the morning and 6 at night. Some farms will milk their cows 3 times a day. It just depends on the dairy farm. Lots of dairy farms do things differently, but most farms milk twice a day or 3 times a day. So our cows are going to come into this area, and the only thing we're going to see on the cow is their back legs and their udder. We're going to milk the cows between their back legs, and we have got a special monitor on that cow's neck strap. That cow's neck strap has a transponder on it, so when she comes into this parlor, her number is going to come up on this screen right here. So cool, yeah. So we know exactly who's standing in front of us. We're going to prep that cow. We're going to clean her udder properly. That cow's going to start to understand it's time to get milked, and she's going to let her milk down, and then we're going to put this milking machine up onto the cow. So these chains are here for when that cow is done milking. The milk flow slows down coming out of that cow. Our machine senses that and then automatically shuts off, and these chains pull that machine out from underneath that cow. Cool. So then we're going to look up on the screen again, make sure she's given her milk. It has the amount of milk she's given, as well as how long that milking machine is on that cow. It usually takes about 4 to 8 minutes to milk our cows, depending on how much milk she gives. So all of our cows vary a little bit in the amount of milk that they give. Once they're done, we put a protective dip on each of their quarters to make sure no bacteria can get up into their udder, and then we let them go. It takes about 15 minutes to milk this group of 10 cows. And like I said, the milking machine is on that cow for only about 4 to 8 minutes.
This space is literally really cool. What's going on in this space, Alex?
So this is called our freestall barn. Our freestall barn is where our cows live when they're not being milked. They also can go out to pasture, but it's a lot cooler in here than it is out there. And we have got some really cool cooling effects for the cows too. So our cows
live here in this freestall barn. The reason it's called a freestall barn is the cows are free to come over and eat some of their feed, they can go drink some of their water, or they can lay down. So we talked about comfort.
Yeah.
So keeping cows comfortable is really important. Our cows are bedded with sand, so our cows get to lay on the beach every single day.
Nice, yeah.
And so we want them to be really comfortable, so that sand is a really good, comfortable base for those cows to lay in.
Gives like a nice kind of support of all of their body parts.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, we've got the fans running. The fans are running, and then we have sprinklers spraying that water on the cows. I always make the comparison. Have you ever been in a pool in a hot summer? You get up and the wind kind of blows in, you get kind of a chill.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do with the cows. We're trying to evaporate that water off those cows to help cool them down even faster than just blowing the air on.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
here in North Carolina, obviously, it gets really hot. So we need to do a lot to keep those cows cooled down, because a cow's body temperature is normally 101.5 degrees.
Oh, wow.
So their body temperature is a lot hotter than ours.
Yeah.
So and that's because they're a ruminant. So as they're eating feed and processing that feed, that actually makes that cow just naturally hotter. So we have to work a lot more to make sure we're keeping them cool and comfortable.
Right, and I think you even mentioned that North Carolina is a little bit harder to raise cows than in some like some of the places that we kind of classically associate with cows, like Wisconsin or upstate New York. Or,
Yep.
And
So North Carolina, we do have about 140 farms in North Carolina. That's dairy farms, specifically dairy farms. And there's about 45,000 dairy cows in North Carolina as well.
Wow.
So those cows obviously are spread across all the different farms. And all those different farms are going to feed their cows a little differently. Like we had talked about before, we feed our cows corn silage that we harvest. So we're growing our crops on this land. We are harvesting those crops and feeding them to our cows, and then we're getting our milk.
yeah,
And then we're making all of our delicious milk products. So all of our Howling Cow milk, our chocolate milk, our specialty Howling Cow Power Pack that's a sports chocolate milk sports drink with extra protein in it, and all of our Howling Cow ice cream comes from the milk that we've produced right here. So another factor to that is cows produce a lot of waste. Cows produce a lot of manure. So we are going to clean these barns every single day. We actually twice a day. And all that manure and liquid that comes from that, we're going to spread that on the fields as fertilizer for next year's crop.
Right.
And we're also going to take the liquid and we're going to irrigate our crops with that gray water that comes from the waste from these cows. So it's a full, complete cycle that we're processing all of those feeds, and all those cows are putting all those nutrients to work, and then feeding us all the good protein and nutrients that they produce as well.
So, Alex, you were telling us that 60 to 70% of everything the cows eat here is grown here. And something else that's, I think, arguably the most delicious outcome that humans can eat here is some ice cream. Can you tell us a little bit about that process?
Absolutely. We take all of that milk and we process it for our students on campus, and then we also make our Howling Cow ice cream. So today, you guys are going to get to enjoy one of our signature banana splits here at the Howling Cow Dairy Education Center and Creamery, and that's going to be the Wolfpack split. Catherine is one of our employees here, and she is going to make that split for us.
I'm so excited. This is delicious.
All right.
Cool. So Alex, thank you so much for taking us on this journey today. This was really incredible. Seeing how y'all are using the cutting edge science that you use, the cutting edge technology to make both life for your cows amazing, but also production of the dairy for your creamery the best that it can be. It's just been a true privilege. Thanks for letting us see a little bit of that.
This is been a real farm-to-table experience.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming, and I love the fact that you guys can help me accomplish my mission by spreading the word even further than I can right here. So I really appreciate what you guys do at the museum and having these great field trip Fridays too.
Absolutely. So is there any way that people can connect to Howling Cow more deeply? Or is there anything else you'd like to share? For our
So we will start tours. I do give tours of the dairy farm for groups, school groups, organized groups of more than 10 people. And we will do that we will start doing that at the end of July. And we will also start having some public tours where you can sign up online and come for a tour as well.
Cool. That's awesome.
Towards the end of the year.
That's so cool.
They can see some of the cool stuff that we saw.
Absolutely.
Incredible. Well, thank you again. I'm really looking forward to this banana split. I'm so excited. Thanks for having us. So, everybody watching, stay tuned for the live Q&A. We'll see you in just a minute. We'll get to ask Alex all sorts of cool questions, and we'll see you there. Awesome. That was super fun. My apologies for the audio at the end there. We had some mic trouble, I think, but that's why we added some subtitles. So hopefully it helps people understand what we were saying there at the end. And we had some really great questions rolling in the chat, and I'd love to give some voice to those. Ms. Derby, would you like to read out some of the cool questions?
Yeah, we had a question that was, how big are your cows on the farm? How big
That's a great question, yeah. So we have different breeds of cows, and those different breeds are bigger and smaller. Our Holstein cows, the big black and white cows, I always tell everybody the Chick-fil-A cow is a Holstein cow. And that's the most popular dairy cow in the United States and really in the world. That Holstein cow is going to range anywhere from 1,500, maybe even up to 1,700 or 1,800 pounds. And our Jersey cows are the smallest of the dairy breed. So they're going to range anywhere from 900 to 1,100 or 1,200 pounds is what the Jersey cows will weigh. So then we have other breeds that are going to kind of fall in the middle there. Some of them are larger breeds, kind of like the Holstein cows as well. But that's usually what a dairy cow is going to weigh.
We also had a question about, is it only a girl cow that gives you milk, or can a boy cow give you milk too?
Only the girl cows give us milk. So only the girls, yep. And they have to have a baby before they can give us milk.
And does it hurt the cow when she has to give you her milk?
No, it doesn't. What we do is we actually go through a process of cleaning that cow. And just for time's sake, they couldn't really go into detail. This is something that we do go into detail if you come for a tour. I talk about all the different steps that we take to get that cow ready to get milked. When she goes into that parlor where you saw us standing, she'll stand there, and there's a procedure that we go through, and that's all a procedure for cleanliness and disinfecting, making sure everything is clean. But it also gets that cow, as she also knows that she's going to get milked. So she begins to relax and let her milk down. And as soon as we put that milking machine on her, she begins to milk very quickly, actually. And that milking machine's only on that cow for anywhere from 4 to 8 minutes is what I usually tell everybody the average is. And cows, each cow gives a different amount of milk. Our cows, when I answered your question earlier, our Holsteins give 90 to 95 pounds. That's an average across the whole group of Holstein cows that we have. So some are given more and some are giving less, depending on where they are in their stage of their lactation. So really, some cows are going to give their milk a lot faster than others. But no, it does not hurt the cows. It actually relieves them because it's taking that pressure off. You can imagine having 40 pounds of milk in a cow's udder. There's probably a lot of weight there, and that cow actually feels better when she gets milk. So no, that does not hurt the cows.
Great question. That was awesome. And I always love, one of the things I have really, really cherished in meeting folks that are farmers of all different varieties is how deeply you understand the biology and the ecology of the systems you're working with. It was such a pleasure hanging out with you, Alex, and learning all this. And it's one of the places where I think sometimes people don't understand how deep the science goes in agriculture. And I think that's one of the reasons, NC State exists, right, is to really build out agricultural science. But it's always just mind-blowing to me at how deep the understanding and connection to these systems are. Great questions. Are there more cool questions?
There was one on the panelist asked, how old can the cows get?
So how old? That's another question I get quite often. Usually, our cows are going to have their first baby when they're about 2 years old, and they will live anywhere from about 6 to 10 years is usually the average lifespan. So if you think of a little less than what a dog's lifespan would be. So, I mean, sometimes dogs get 15 years old or, in that range. So it's about 6 to 10 years is what I always tell people. And again, that can vary just like anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I often feel like, oh, sorry, Mr. B. I get that question a lot too with a lot of our animals at the museum. And I'm often like, well, how old am I going to be? I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's hard to know sometimes.
All right, Steve, some of us are dying to know, was the banana split very good?
Yeah, I saw that question pop up in the chat, and I will just say it was amazing. That was one of the best banana splits I've ever had. Catherine did a really wonderful job. It was beautiful. It was delicious. It was really, 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 really good.
And then I do have, I have a couple of friends that don't eat dairy. So do you have anything that's non-dairy there, or is it probably all going to be dairy?
It's all going to be pretty much dairy, but we do offer smoothies that are non. So a fruit smoothie with no whipped cream, you'll be safe with no dairy there. So, and we did add that option, and that's about the only thing that we have here that you could get, because that's it. We are dairy focused, so we do get that question quite often, but that's the thing. And the reason, one of the reasons we did this is we had a friend of my bosses actually said, well, I'm not going to bring my family there because one of my kids can't have dairy. Mm-hmm. So I thought, let's just give at least something that the rest of the family can enjoy, and they can at least have a quick fruit smoothie or something like that. So.
For sure. What is your favorite flavor, Alex?
Mine is the cookie dough squared, and I put that in the chat. So we call it cookie dough squared because we actually add a cookie dough flavoring in our ice cream mix. Then we add the cookie doughs and chocolate chunks, so we call it cookie dough squared. So a lot of cookie dough ice cream is just vanilla ice cream with cookie dough added in. So we take it the next step further. I used to make my own ice cream, and I loved my own ice cream, but this cookie dough is by far the best I've ever had. So that's my go-to.
That is awesome. It is hard to beat out like that sense of like, I made this myself. So that must be incredibly good.
It is.
Do the cows have any favorite foods?
Do the cows have favorite foods? I mean, yeah, there's probably a lot of, and it again depends on what you let the cows have. If we feed them a specifically balanced diet. So I wouldn't want to open the gates to my farm and just let the cows eat whatever they wanted, because probably they would get into something that was too much of a good thing. Like if they have too much grain, just like if kids have too much candy, it can give you an upset stomach. Well, it's the same with cows. If you let that cow just eat a lot of grain, she's going to get a stomach ache. She's not going to feel good. She might get sick. We might have to call the vet and have the doctor come take care of her. So grains, the grains that I showed you in the video are going to be one of the favorite foods of the cows. If you watch cows eat quite often, you'll see cows, they'll nose their feed back and forth and back and forth, and they'll nose it down to the floor. And what they're doing is they're actually separating the coarse parts of that feed out to get to that smaller grain. So they like those types of things. Now, I did see a farm one time. If you feed cows that are milking onions, it will flavor the milk. So that's one of the things that people ask. Will that flavor? Are there feeds that can flavor milk? Absolutely, there are. Onions are a big one that will really change the flavor. But you can feed that to younger heifers who are not milking, and they love onions. I was on a farm where they, like I was telling you before about waste products, this was near a vegetable farm, and there were onions that were rejected that they wouldn't be able to sell for us to eat. But again, like rather than just throwing them out, they can give them to a dairy farmer or a farmer and feed them to cows. So that was one of the things that they were able to do, is give them to their heifers, and the heifers loved them. They would almost fight to get to those onions.
That is wild. I mean, I had heard of the kind of cows getting into onion patches and that kind of flavoring milk and stuff, but I didn't know that they enjoyed them so much. That's why they're always getting into those patches.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I think we have time for probably one more question. Is there one more question you'd like to ask, Ms. Derby?
We had how many teeth does a cow have?
I don't know how many teeth a cow has.
We finally stumped Alex.
Cows only have teeth on the bottom, though. They don't have any top teeth.
Oh.
So the reason for that is when you think about a cow in a pasture eating grass, she really doesn't need those top teeth to crunch and bite. So she's going to take her tongue and she's going to wrap it around some grass, pull it into her mouth, and chomp her bottom teeth up to her top, the plate in the top of her mouth, and that's going to shear off that grass. So that being said, what cows do as ruminants, they're going to burp up some of their feed. They don't really, they're going to swallow most of their feed whole. So they really don't need to chew it up a lot. After the digestion process starts in their rumen, they're going to burp some of that feed back up and chew it and chew their cud. So that's what all ruminants do, whether it's a deer or whether it's a dairy cow or another kind of cow. So that's one of the reasons they don't have to chew their food a lot. So they don't have those top teeth as to crunch anything. They just need to get it in their mouth and swallow it. And then the reason a ruminant is what it is they're going to be able to take in a large amount of feed and eat that, and then go lay down someplace and digest it where they're safe. So if you think of a cow being kind of a predator animal, they need to take in a lot of feed and then go lay down someplace safe and digest their feed. So that's why ruminants are built the way they're built.
Right, they're trying to get their food and then go be safe. Yeah, part of why they hang out in groups. In groups,
and that's why they like their herd. Right, exactly. Yep.
They're trying to avoid predators.
Yep, exactly.
Well, yeah, thank you, Alex. This has been a wonderful Q&A. Thank you, students, and thank you, Ms. Derby, for all of these amazing questions. This was really great. I'm going to let Peregrine take away some more thank yous, but I really just appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks to all of you, and special thanks to Alex Ives and the entire Howling Cow team, especially the cows, most important part, arguably. Willow, thanks so much to Willow Alston Soha and Dr. Linda Tugurian and our Durham Public School partners. And we're going to do one last shout out to Hillendale for hosting us this week. Thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to give you a preview for next week. So next week is the last week of our summer series. And importantly, everybody watching, we will be broadcasting on Thursday, July 29th. Durham schools are ending their summer session. And so some students are going to be giving their computers back. And we want to make sure that they're able to watch. So we'll be watching on Thursday. So mark your calendars for our first ever Field Trip Friday on a Thursday. So join us next Thursday for, we're going to be visiting Dr. Steve Kummer. He is a lightning researcher and he has a field site in the Duke Forest near Chapel Hill. We're going to go out there and learn how he and his research team study lightning. And even cooler than just like looking at lightning with our eyes, they also use radio antennas to see inside of the cloud. So they can see the lightning that would normally be invisible to our eyes inside of the cloud. And we'll learn how they do that. And we'll get to see some of those visualizations of the lightning that's happening inside of clouds. So we'll see you there. Keep your weather minds curious, and I hope you really enjoyed visiting Howling Cow. We certainly did. I'm definitely going back for another split, and we'll see you next time on Thursday for Field Trip Fridays. See y'all.
Thanks,
See you
everybody.
later, friends.